Once upon a time, there was a group of zany animals who loved to goof around. They were always getting into trouble and causing chaos, but they knew they had to learn their ABCs. First up was Arnie the Anteater, who was always munching on apples. He loved the letter A and would shout it out whenever he could. Next was Betsy the Bat, who loved to hang upside down. She was a big fan of the letter B and would flap her wings with joy whenever she saw it. Then came Charlie the Cat, who was always chasing his tail. He adored the letter C and would meow it out whenever he could. Daisy the dog was up next, wagging her tail in excitement. She was a fan of the letter D and would bark it out whenever she got the chance. Eddie the elephant was the biggest of the bunch, and he loved the letter E. He would trumpet it out with his trunk, making all the other animals cover their ears. Fanny the flamingo was next in line, standing on one leg as always. She loved the letter F and would squawk it out in her high-pitched voice. Jerry the giraffe was the tallest of the bunch, and he loved the letter G. He would stretch his neck out and shout it out as loudly as he could. Haley the hippo was a big fan of the letter H, and she would yawn it out lazily whenever it was her turn. Izzy the iguana was up next, and she loved the letter I. She would wiggle her tail in excitement and hiss it out whenever she got the chance. Jerry the jellyfish, who loved the letter J, he would wave his tentacles in the water and spell it out for all the other animals to see. Kelly the kangaroo, who loved the letter K. She would hop around excitedly and shout it out whenever she got the chance. Lenny the lion was up next, and he loved the letter L. He would roar it out so loudly that all the other animals would tremble in fear. Maggie the monkey was a big fan of the letter M, and she would swing from branch to branch shouting it out with glee. Nikki the newt was up next, and she loved the letter N. She would wiggle her little tail and hiss it out in her high-pitched voice. Oscar the owl was a big fan of the letter O, and he would hoot it out at night whenever he saw it in the stars. Penny the penguin was up next, and she loved the letter P. She would slide around on her belly and squawk it out in her adorable little voice. Quincy the quail was a big fan of the letter Q, and he would peck it out in the dirt with his beak whenever he got the chance. Rosie the rabbit was up next, and she loved the letter R. She would hop around excitedly and thump it out with her hind legs. Samantha the snake was a big fan of the letter S, and she would hiss it out with her long, slithery tongue. Toby the tiger was up next, and he loved the letter T. He would stalk around like he was hunting prey and roar it out whenever he got the chance. Ursula the unicorn was a magical creature who loved the letter U. She would prance around gracefully and neigh it out in her mystical voice. Vicky the vulture was up next, and she loved the letter V. She would circle around in the sky and screech it out with her sharp beak. Wally the walrus was a big fan of the letter W, and he would bellow it out in his deep, rumbling voice whenever he got the chance. Xavier the xenopus was a tiny frog who loved the letter X. He would hop around excitedly and croak it out with his little voice. Yara the yak was up next, and she loved the letter Y. She would graze on grass and moo it out in her deep, rumbling voice. Finally, Zane the zebra was the last in line, and he loved the letter Z. He would gallop around excitedly and whinny it out whenever he got the chance. And so the zany animals had learned their ABCs in the most humorous way possible. From Arnie the Anteater to Zane the Zebra, they had laughed and played while they learned, proving that education can be fun and hilarious at the same time.